So listen, we're still at it. All right. We are still going to go live this weekend, but we're going to talk about some of the things that I highlighted as far as the 2026 Formula One Power Unit regs that came out, PU technical regulations to be specific. They came out. If you're not familiar or you don't know, or maybe you heard and you really didn't even look into them or want to look through all those PDF files, I'm just going to briefly go over some of the areas of highlight to me, not to say that there aren't other areas in here that may be important to you. So I will also share some of the documentation that I'm reviewing up here on the screen so that you could take a look at that. Don't forget also, when we go live, big shout out. I posted everybody that has joined the channel. We hit 50 members. Sean made 50. All right. Congratulations. Welcome to the channel, Sean. I did do a new member shout out. Also, there are a group of members that are getting ready to upgrade to level 1 and 2. They also will have their shout out when that happens. We just had a cluster of members that upgraded from level 1. We had 2 that upgraded to level 2. So our first 2 members to ever upgrade to level 2, Sylvia Kelly and MK. Congratulations to you for that. We will have another graduating class going on. Also, I sent out to our first tier 2 members. They got the titanium Wolfpack coins. I do not have one. They do. I sent them out to them. And also, there are members that are getting close to winning or being awarded their VIP tier 1 VIP boxes. Keep that up. And we still have our champagne over there for the podium. So let's get into this. All right. So these new regs come about. We have been waiting for these new regs for some time. And more than us waiting for them, I believe Porsche and Audi have been waiting for them, as they are expected to enter into Formula One under these new regs. And I believe they definitely wanted to be sure of seeing these regulations before coming in so they knew what they were going to be dealing with. And also, it kind of resets, or doesn't really reset, but it does in a way kind of not level the playing field for them to enter, because not only is Audi, I believe, going to enter as a team, but Porsche is entering it as a manufacturer, and that's still kind of murky waters with how they're going to work that out between the two, because let's just be real, Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen, all of those are under the same umbrella. And I think other teams have some concerns about how is it that you all are going to regulate this, that they are not going to do something similar to like Ferrari and Haas kind of are being looked at right now. The white Ferrari comes out, Haas shares offices with Ferrari, employees from Ferrari power units, now looking like the white Ferrari. So I think that is a concern for a majority of the other teams, especially manufacturers like Mercedes, Alpine, McLaren, Ferrari, with having another manufacturer come in, especially a name that is on the street. Because let's keep it real, Porsche is hot right now. I mean, if you haven't seen the 911 GTRS, you're tripping. 3, if you haven't seen the GTRS 4, the GT4 RS 718 that came in, you're tripping. Those are 2 very good looking cars. And I like that GT4 RS is looking tough, especially with the end scoops on the side of that quarter window. Woo! Hot. But anyway, I digress. First section in here was about sustainable fuel. Okay, so going into the 2026, fully sustainable fuel is a cornerstone going 2026. Fuel components must be from sustainable sources, either non-food, bio-derived, from genuine municipal waste, or from sustainable carbon capture. So Formula One is still going to continue their quest or their initiative and their efforts to try and be sure that when these cars come to tracks around the world, they are not adding to the diminishing of the environment, the ozone layer, and adding to pollutants. That is one thing that Formula One is definitely very adamant about, and they are continuing that. They're going to encourage sustainable production methods to be followed without prejudice. So that's that's something else they got going on. Fuel constitutes must be fully sustainable. So they're, once again, here is just a bunch of sustainable. We want to say sustainable. We want fuel that is clean for the world. That is what that pretty much is going to go into. This is not the juiciest part to me. This is important because it has a lot to do with our life and our future and our environment and how we breathe. So it is very important. It's not the most juiciest thing when it comes to us being on summer break, waiting for another GP. We want to know what's the real grid. What are we really getting down to? Let's talk about the ICE, internal combustion engines, okay? This is something, staying with the V6, 1.6 liter. We're going to do that, 400 kilowatts, all the other good stuff approximately. Now, what they are going to get into is, these two parts, lower and upper part. You will have involving the engine block, crankshaft, connecting rod, pumps, and auxiliaries, which will be more prescribed, okay? Now, before I say that, I will get to the upper part, mainly focused on the combustion area. The associated components will also feature prescription, but there will be more freedom to develop the combustion system for new fuel. I've even seen, and I probably will try to go back and find the exact regulation or statute that states 5 sparks per cylinder cycle. Okay, they are getting that specific when they talk about prescriptions and what they're going to be looking for. 5 sparks per cylinder cycle, okay? That right there is getting specific. How are they going to regulate that? How are they going to test that? I mean, it probably is easy to test, but is that something they're going to be running around really testing? We will see, because right now we're having issues with the test as far as the flooring is going on, right? Teams are able to have a floor that tests good, but operates differently under real working circumstances. And that's where some of the disadvantages and advantages to other teams have come in, as we've heard from reports or read from reports, as much as 4 millimeters past a 2 millimeter flexion point. Okay. So we want to know, are they going to be enforcing not only these tests, improving these tests, and the punishments if tests are broken? All right. So we have another very important part that comes down here, and that is going to be the deletion of the MGUH. Okay. The MGUH is going to be no more going forward in 2026 as it sits right now. All right. That you just saw there, that red component right there, the MGUH between the two TCs, will disappear. Okay. Now, as far as me looking at that component gone, all right, I'm thinking you're removing that component. So maybe a little bit more turbo lag. Definitely going to depend more on the MGUK, the kinetic side of things, versus the heat side of things. All right. So when it comes into that, and there's a realistic picture there for you if you're not familiar with how that setup looks. So the MGUH will be removed. Okay. Variable trumpets and their actuation and control system will be removed. Limited ranges of key dimensions are defined: piston, crank, block, valve, injector positions, turbocharger wheels. Okay, so they're going to be looking at those limited ranges and dimensions on those components. Overall PU element legality volumes are now more precisely defined. We will see if they're more precisely enforced. Okay, material limitations have been extended to exclude many high cost options. So that's going to be something that they're going to do to try to, I don't know if that helps teams stay under the cap, but it also limits teams' ability to raise levels of performance, I would think. Extension of standardization of components or of their design features. Injectors, knock sensors, ignition coils, power box, torque, temperature, pressure sensors. Okay, all those matter. Knock sensors and ignition coils definitely matter when it comes to performance and creating horsepower. Okay, you want that spark, you want it strong, you want your knock sensor operating correctly, and the injectors, you want those things spraying. So remember, there's going to be restrictions on that as well. All right, injector flow. The supply parameters have been extended to ensure parts such as exhaust systems and auxiliaries must be designed for the complete PU life, resulting in significant cost savings over a season. Once again, here goes the cost savings over a season because of the cost cap. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. We're going to, as an organization or as an authority, find a way to make it so that the rest of the field can operate with underneath this cost cap. But does that mean taking things away that teams will use to be competitive? So I still believe there's going to be some time in here where we're going to have to get adjusted to all of these new regs. They're still kind of changing. Teams are getting adapted, still learning the car. So we might not see the peak of these things all come to fruition until 2024, right? And will things start kind of tapering down a bit there? We're going to get into some of that about the changes and the times that they will have available to make these changes. So let's get into the ERS or the ERS system. That's the ERS type light, letting you know it's engaged. This right here is something that Ferrari, I think, could have prided themselves on, because they spent a lot of time, I believe, developing in this area, and it paid off for them. But as far as this section is concerned, Regulations will aim to increase the role relevance of cell power electronics and MGUK, because the MGUH is out of there. Remember that. Cells will be in an area for development, but their supply will have non-exclusivity provisions to contain a potential cost escalation. Here we go again. Cost. Okay. So when it comes to non-exclusivity, I think that helps eliminate monopolies, right? Because if you have exclusive things going on and then people can only buy from here or here, you can raise the prices. So when you kind of open up the market, it makes for a more competitive pricing, which usually brings pricing down. When you have more bidders or more stores in one area, they're more likely to compete on price and getting lower, because now we as buyers have more opportunity to go in and don't not go far to see what the best price is, versus if you had a store here and then a store 50 miles away. Well, both of those stores can raise their prices, because if you come in, what are you going to do? Drive 50 miles to go try to save yourself maybe $10, $20? In this case, tens, 20, maybe millions of dollars? No, you're going to say, you know what? Forget it. I saved my time and heartache and headache and everything with traffic. I'm just going to buy it from you. I don't feel like driving 50 miles to get it. Well, that's something, once again, cost. Design constraints to improve ERS safety and ability to police have been mandated. Okay, so there we go with some of the policing that should be taking place. Controls have been introduced to either limit or require recycle of critical materials. Once again, more of the safety, sustainable fuels, environment, making sure that Formula One as an entire entity is not adding to the worsening of this world. Next, we will get into PU usage, which was interesting to me. To see the PU usage as much as the actual development limits. Okay. So when we get into that, in each year, each driver will be able to use 3 ICEs, 3 turbochargers, 3 exhaust units. Okay. 2 energy stores, 2 MGUKs, because the MGUH is out of there. For the first year, these new regulations, 2026, these numbers will be increased by 1. Okay. So for the first year of these new regulations, 2026, they will have 1 additional digit to each one of these areas. After that, I don't know what the date. It's only the first year. So 2027, that 1 digit will disappear. Hopefully they have a handle on things. Now, this bench restrictions, this bench testing is something also to pay attention to. For control reasons, clear definitions are given to the various PU test benches that can be used by a PU manufacturer for the development of their PUs. The potential PU test bench and the maximum number of each PU manufacturer may use are. So for single cylinder dynamometer, 3. All right. For power unit dynamometers, 3. Powertrain dynamometer, 1. Full car dynamometer, 1. ERS test benches, 2. All right. That is what you were getting. That is what you were getting. All right. They're limiting, or these are the limits or the constraints on the ability to test and try to see what your whatever data you're going to collect. They're giving you that. Now, what is kind of I looked into, and I kind of did some math over this portion, because if you see 2022, it says these right here are the operational hours for PU manufacturers can use for their development is limited to control costs according to the following table. So right here, 2026, limited IC, limit ERS. If you look at 2022, there's 300 and 200. If you come over to 2023 through 2025, you'll see that it says 5,400 hours over the course of 3 years. I divided that by 3, which means it's approximately 1,800 hours per year. Now, it doesn't mean they have to use 1,800 hours per year, but I'm just saying if you divide it out evenly, or just divided that by the 3 years that 54 spread out, you're going to get 1,800. Below that, in the ERS is 3,400 hours over the course of those years, which will give you about 1,133 hours per year. But if you look in 2026, that number is significantly declined to 700 and 500. Right there is your wiggle room to try to get as much handle, at least this is my opinion. We're going to give you as much time as we're going to give you more time, not as much time as you want. We're going to give you more time within these 3 years. So when these regulations come into play, you should be fully capable and ready to handle whatever it is that we're going to do going forward. All right. That is what that tells me. They're giving you some wiggle room. They're giving them some space to develop, giving you some opportunity, especially Porsche. As we know, they're locking in 2026. Now, Verstappen's contract is up 2028. OK, so if you look at this, just taking a note, 2022, right? From here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we go from 2022, let's just 2023, from 23 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 years. Okay. 6 years plus this 2022 makes 7. All right. There is likely going to be a hitch 2026, maybe even 2025. All right. As these things start honing in and Porsche comes in, how much does Porsche take up as far as being able to come in and hit the ground running without any delay? Is going to be interesting to see. I mean, Porsche is a pretty good manufacturer. I do like their cars. They are race inspired. The Porsche is a very nice, like, brute on the road. Definitely not assholes like Ferrari. Like, you got to buy 2 other junk Ferraris in order to get this Ferrari. So that's definitely a plus. But that's what's going to be happening with Red Bull, since they're going to be dealing with Porsche, and Porsche is going to be coming in. We'll see how that affects not only Red Bull, but how Porsche does as they do get in here. Next thing we're going to get to is the cost cap. All right. And I bring up the Aston Martin situation because, you know, Stroll is just, I think he hasn't done well with the team thus far, like coming in. You know, they got this new wing modification and our wing in plate modification, and the money that he could spend in his team, and the performance hasn't been there, and the nicknames have been there, and they just haven't been doing great. I don't know what happens next season. We do know Vettel's leaving. We know Alonso's coming in. I don't know if don't think that's a great thing. I'm not going to say I don't know. I don't think that's a great thing. I don't think that pushes Aston Martin to another benchmark. So we will see what happens with Aston. But as far as this cost cap situation, I did see in here 2020 to 2025 at 130 million from 2026 onward will be that. And then main categories of costs incurred. Now, this is something that I did find interesting to know because people may want to know this. And if you see right here, first, we're going to go over, this is the overspend breach. Okay. In the minor overspend breach, 5% or less cost cap will result in financial penalties and or minor sporting penalties. Material overspend breach, more than equal to 5% cost cap will result in mandatory championship points deductions, team and or drivers, and any other financial penalties and or material sporting penalties. That materials overspend is coming with a hefty penalty price tag, okay? Whereas the minor overspend, 5% or less, it's just like a financial penalty, minor sporting penalty. If you're overspending on materials, this is when the teams are bringing in these upgrades and everything else, they're hitting you for championship point deductions for the driver and constructor, financial penalties and material sporting penalties. That one is heavy. You know, teams don't want to run into that. Non-submission of the breach. Now, we already know Williams went through this similar situation, and we went over there as far as the regs, and I showed you what each one article meant and what it defined as far as what Williams did and what they had agreed to and why they were penalized. I believe that was 25,000 or so. But this will result in mandatory constructor championship point deduction and any other financial penalties and material sporting penalties. So they're not going to be playing about the submission of these documents from whomever the team's auditor is to have those in by said deadline or have them appropriately in as they are prescribed to be in. They're hitting these teams. They're going to hit these teams with championship point deduction. Now, I just want to know, is this something that they're really going to do? Like, we're seeing this in the paper. We're seeing these in the regs. But when it happens, depending on who it happens to, is this something that they're officially going to do? Because we see it as it's read out here. I'm going to be looking to see if any team breaks this. Will they get that? Because we already know Williams just got $25,000 fine. All right. No championship points. Not that they had any, but I mean, could they put them in negative? Maybe. Yeah, maybe they could do that. I don't know if you want to do that. It'd be kind of cruel to Williams. They're sitting in a bad spot. So the cost cap, adjusted for indexation. Okay, so we have this out of this part. The most important part to me was, what can they spend money on without being penalized within the cost cap regs? Okay, and those areas that you could spend in without like being penalized, like excluded from the calculation of relevant cost, are marketing and heritage asset activities, depreciation, finance cost, taxation, or exchange losses, HR activities, finance activities, legal activities, health and safety cost, non-PU activities. I think that's a gray area. Non-PU activities, like how is that going to be lined out? And is there a gray area in there that teams will find to expose that will not lead them to be penalized? It's going to be interesting. I think that's a very vague thing. Non-PU activities, kind of vague to me to see if teams will find that interesting to see, is there something there that we can exploit? Manufacturing and servicing are PU leased to customer teams. So I'm thinking that that's like Ferrari right now. You got Haas, and they're not happy, and Alfa Romeo are not happy with these power units. You're going to need to fix them and spin them. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm assuming that's something like that. And then current generation 2023 through 2025 PU activity. So a lot of things as we come down there in regards to the power unit. And I just think that's kind of an area where I don't know if even the FIA are purposely leaving themselves and teams the opportunity to deviate within a certain reason. And if they do, not only is there a loophole or a gray area for the teams to like basically contest them on, but the FIA to make a reason why they did not penalize said team. I'm a little worried of those areas. Okay, so that is what you have right now. These are, as boring as this is, it also is important. I think even whether new, old, moderate Formula One fan, I think for us to cover things like this, documentations like this, and also along with the race and the developments and the upgrades, it just makes for a better overall understanding of the sport going forward when you see certain things take place on the grid, or why certain principles or teams do or don't do something, or why certain drivers want to make certain moves. All of these things kind of can come in play to some degree, or if not more. And if you don't understand, or you haven't even had any type of knowledge of any of this kind of happening, you might be lost. And trust me, there's plenty of times where I'm like, why did this happen? I got to go research, and I'm reading, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand. So that is what I like to try to do here on the channel. Plus, we're learning together, right? I'm not the person that knows everything, and I'm not the type of person to try to act like I know everything. I'm going to share with you what I think is interesting, and with the best of my ability at that point in time. And then if I don't, I'll grow and go research and learn more, and then bring it back to you, because I'm about sharing, and sharing is caring, and I care about you all because you care to be here. So that's what we got with the regs so far coming out. Trust me, there are going to be more developments. Porsche filed for their trademark for the finally. And I'm going to say that. I'm going to say finally, because I might have to hit Porsche with some type of trademark lawsuit, because this is the finale lap here, home of the finale lap. And they trademark, is it finale or is it finally? I don't know. You tell me, finally or finale? Finally, I think it's finally. And it's really clever. It's really clever. Plus the picture look good. If I didn't post it in the community, I'll post it and let you all see that. So that is it. Remember, we will be live this weekend on several topics that have happened, or things that are going on. Maybe more about these regs, maybe more about Audi announcing their entry, maybe more about Porsche and how they're coming along. Maybe, just maybe, we go over the Porsche. Maybe talk about that, or talk about some of the other things going on in the manufacturer car world. I don't know. We'll make it interesting. We'll see. We will survive the summer break, and soon we will be back for the quality kickback and finale lap. And of course, you know, I got the champagne on deck. Peace. Thanks for tuning in and watching another video here at Wolfpack Performance. Check out some of my other content on Formula One issues, our topics, and our DIY products on how to customize your vehicle. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.